I'm really enjoying seeing these screens opening up and seeing some faces I know and some faces I don't know. And I wanted to introduce myself. So, my name is Michelle Yasuda, and I'm the program director for the Foundation for Conscious Living's Big Leap Home online programs. So, these programs support individuals, organizations, and communities in generating agency, connection, and creativity on our shared planet. And I love that vision. And I love being a part of the Big Leap Bridge, which is one of the ways that we actually carry this out, that the foundation shows up in the world. So thank you for being a part of this call tonight. I want to let you know before I turn this call over to the amazing Greg, I wanted to let you know that you're welcome to join us in the Big Leap Home Network, which is an online gathering space for all things Hendricks. So it's for the Hendricks Institute and the Foundation for Conscious Living. And it's a platform where you can connect with the community, and you also receive updates on events and resources. There's all kinds of good stuff there. And I really like it because I don't get distracted. Instead of it being like a Facebook group where I go down a rabbit hole and forget why I got on there, I go to the Hendricks community and that's all that's there. So it's really quite wonderful. So I'll put a link in the chat for that after I turn over the call. So I am trying to think if there's any other logistics that I wanted to let you know. Greg, you'll let everyone know how to handle questions. So that's something I didn't ask you about, and you can let everyone know how you want to handle that. I know we're going to be doing a lot of interactive activities, so I'm excited about that. How we like to do it in the Hendricks Bridge world is before we turn a call over to our facilitator, we say an appreciation for them. And it's really easy for me to appreciate you, Greg. I haven't known you for a long time, and I've known you now within one of the Hendricks programs that's been going on for the last year. And what I notice is how you show up in authentic you. I experience you as open-hearted, loving, kind, and authenticity is huge, being real. And I really love how you express in the network that I was talking about. I often see Greg show up there and expressing how you use these tools to create the life that you have. So I really appreciate that about you. So I'm going to turn the call over to you, and I'm really excited to see what we're going to do tonight.
Thank you, Michelle. What a lovely appreciation. Welcome, everybody. I'm Greg, and I'm looking out at all of you zooming in on this spring night from all these different places. It's just amazing, and I feel excited to be here. I'm also feeling the rush that comes with being with all of you. It never gets old for me on Zoom. It's just amazing that we can do this. So I'm going to take a look around at all the faces of the people who are here. And I'd like to invite you to do the same thing, to let yourself really look around and see who's here with you now and for the next hour. Let yourself notice their faces. Maybe you can tune into their energy a little bit. You might want to nod or maybe even wave to somebody that you know or somebody new that's here that you've never seen before in your whole life. Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, tonight is a chance to hang out, really just to hang out with fellow explorers and to play with some experiments and games and to see what we can discover about ourselves and each other. So before we get into that, I want to say just a little bit about the structure that we're going to be using tonight so that you all have an idea of what to expect. And it's very simple. What we're going to be doing is playing with an experiment as a group, and then there will be an opportunity for people to share what they're experiencing and discovering. So playing with an experiment and then sharing what we're experiencing and discovering. How does that sound, everybody? Thumbs up, see some nodding. Okay, some smiling. Excellent. All right then. Well, let's go ahead and move into our first experiment of the night. And so I'd like for all of you to unmute who are on camera, if you would. So go ahead and let yourself do that. Great. Okay, so the way this works, so let me tell you what the name of it is first. This is called tossing the energy ball. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to create a ball of energy right here. And I'm going to put my energy into this ball. And I'm going to look out on the screen and I'm going to choose somebody to toss it to. So if I say your name, your job is to catch this ball and to start adding your energy to it. So I'm going to toss this ball out to Nancy.
Okay, catching it, adding my energy, and I'm going to toss it to Rhonda.
Whoa! I'm adding my energy. And I'm going to toss it to Michelle.
Oh. Ooh. I am going to toss it to Victor.
All right. So here's the ball, and I'm infusing some of mine. And then I'm tossing it to you, Sybil.
Thank you, Victor. And I have it, and it's a wonderful ball of energy, and I'm accepting what's there and adding to it, and I'm going to toss it to Marion.
Receiving, thank you. Receiving, growth edge for me. And now filling with me and tossing to June.
Whoa, it's vibrating. Ooh, I'm adding some of my vibration to it. And here it comes, Suzanne.
It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm going to toss it to Elizabeth.
Oh my. Okay, it's big and there's lots of different colors and flavors. I'm adding some of my own, and I'll toss it to Sarah. Oh,
This is big. I'm giving it a hug, a big, big warm hug. Giving it some magic. And I'm tossing it to Brian.
Whoa.
Wow, this feels fun. It's like having you all hanging out with me right here. This is amazing. Put some notes in, some music, spin it through, a little light. And let's see, who do we have here? I've got Alice. Oh.
I can't get up. It's a big one. I think I don't know what to do right now. I think I'm just going to just go. Just let it just be here. Oh yeah. Wow, that's a lot of energy and a lot of love and a lot of wonderful vibration. So I think, Greg, I don't know. I think, can I toss it back to you? I don't know if I can. If I can get all the energy underneath me.
Is there anyone who hasn't received the toss that would like to? Yes.
Oh, there's someone there? Oh, Beverly. Okay. Beverly, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, here we go.
Let's go.
It's super big, but it's also very light, so I can actually like toss it. And still hold it. challenge. It feels really beautiful. And I think a new person just came on that I can toss it to. Yes, Darlene, here you go.
Oh my gosh, there's so much energy here. Wow. Loving this. Woo, oh my gosh. It has a life of its own. Greg, take it back.
How about Kathleen just came on? Darlene, can you toss it over to Kathleen?
Hi, Kathleen. Are you ready for this? Because it's quite the energy ball. Here you go. Wow.
And so adding your energy to it, Kathleen. And then when you're ready, you can just toss it back out to the whole group and we'll all catch that big ball.
I toss it to?
The whole group, the whole group.
Woo!
Oh. All right. Mm. Mm.
Mm.
And just take a moment to feel that big ball of energy, including us all right here, right now. Including everything, burps, everything that wants to come up. All right, does anybody want to share anything that you're experiencing or that you're discovering as we're starting to interact here tonight?
It just feels so good to share playfulness with each other. It's so uplifting, and it makes life so much lighter when we can play with each other, play with each other, play together. And I really appreciate you and the group for being so playful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Anybody else?
I always marvel that we can do this in a Zoom format. We've all played in the physical way, in some way with this to some degree, but it's so powerful to be able to just be able to connect with people that are, dotted around the world, and geographically to pull the energy together, I think is magical.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
I have an awareness of a vulnerability, and it feels like maybe like layers of armor of my image manager are dissolving. I was kind of surprised that I felt as vulnerable as I did.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
I noticed that I came in going, okay, what is it that I got to learn? And, I got to learn from this. And when the ball came my way, it was in that moment of playfulness, I lost touch with fleeing forward. And it kind of felt like splashing, like the way kids splash around in water in the summer, that kind of a thing. It felt like I was just really splashing around and feel more available.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think I was having some self-management issues of how I was going to show up and stuff. And I just see it's a come as you are party. And I just feel more open and playful.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed, I thought, oh, I came late. I'm not going to get to play. And then I felt such a sense of belonging and like inclusion and being welcomed. And it was like Brian, it's like, it did feel like, oh, we're in the sandbox playing together. Love this group. I see everyone as my ally, and that's so precious.
Mm-hmm. 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 Well, let's move into another playful little thing we can do together. Is there somebody who's feeling a little adventurous? Somebody who would like to volunteer to, yes, to start us off, Rhonda?
Yeah.
All right, Rhonda. So this experiment is called matching through movement. So
Okay.
Rhonda, go ahead and make a movement that describes how you're feeling right now. And the rest of the group is going to match your movement and mirror it back to you.
Okay.
So whenever you're ready. And then go ahead and choose somebody, Rhonda.
Brian.
Marianne.
Womp. Marianne. Womp.
And tossing this to Darlene.
As I'm muted, I'm tossing this to Victor.
And over to you, Alice.
Mm.
And Suzanne.
June.
Beverly.
Kathleen.
Sarah.
Nancy.
Pass it to Sybil.
And I'll toss it to Christina.
Mm.
I'll pass it to Elizabeth.
Mhm. Anybody left? Anybody left who still would like a toss? Yes.
I'll pass it to Michelle.
Mm.
And Greg.
Mm.
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 Ooh, all right. Wow. So just notice your level of aliveness right now, the amount of energy that you're feeling. And then let's just go around and say one word. So just one word, if you like. We'll ping pong around one word that describes your experience right now.
Splash.
Fuzzy.
bubbly,
Giggle.
Silly.
Joy. Strange.
Blob.
Relieved.
Open.
Opening.
Sensing.
Allowing.
Connecting. All right, wonderful, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for all your sharing. And let's move into another experiment. We're going to play a little bit now with loop of awareness. I know many of you are familiar and practitioners of loop of awareness. And loop of awareness is simply being able to loop your awareness between your own experience and between another person or a group or the environment around you. So for example, right now, your awareness is probably looped out to me. You're noticing my hands moving, hearing my voice. Let your awareness go back to yourself right now, back to your body. Just notice your breathing. Notice any part of your body that feels tight or open. Maybe your face feels warm, or there's something else you're noticing. And then loop back out to me again and notice something else about me. Maybe there's some part of my face you're drawn to, or there's something else that you're curious about that you're noticing about me or my room. And then loop back again to yourself, noticing your own breathing, noticing where you feel your body, perhaps where you don't feel your body. There's no right or wrong answers, just noticing, discovering. So that's the loop of awareness, being able to loop your awareness out to another person and then to loop back to yourself. So go ahead and choose another person on screen and let yourself loop out to that person. Notice something about that person, their facial expression, perhaps, or maybe they're moving or not moving. Maybe there's something about them you're curious about. And then let your awareness come back to yourself, noticing your own body, maybe bringing a little movement into your loop of awareness, noticing your breathing or anything else you're aware of inside of you. And then loop out to another person on the screen. Let yourself notice that person. Maybe you're noticing their facial expression or something that you're drawn to about them. And see if there's anything you want to add to your loop. Maybe you want to add a little bit of appreciation or curiosity or love or playfulness. And then loop back to yourself, noticing your own experience with that same appreciation or curiosity or love. And then looping out to another person on the screen and noticing something about that person, something that your attention is drawn to. And then looping back to yourself, noticing your breathing, perhaps, any body sensations, or maybe any feelings that are emerging for you. And then let yourself start to loop out to people however you like. Just letting yourself find a rhythm that feels good to you, where you're looping out and noticing something, and then looping back to yourself and noticing something. You might even experiment with looping out to your own image. That's fun. And then looping back. Yeah. Aha. And see if you can be aware of your own experience and another person at the same time. So you're aware of a person, and also you're aware of your breathing or a sensation in your body. And then seeing if you can be aware of the whole group and your own body experience at the same time. And then go ahead and let go of needing to do anything in particular with your awareness right now. Just letting yourself settle and integrate a little bit. All right. Anything anybody's noticing or discovering about your loop of awareness?
I needed to call in imagination because my Zoom, I only have the like 5 people, 6 people showing. So to get the whole group, it was like, okay, all you out there that I don't see right now, and all the names with the black screens, you know, sending you my energy. And so it was like, I'm employing imagination when I don't visually have the cues, you know, and that felt very doable. Yeah. Like they were there for me in the heart.
Anybody else?
I noticed just that sense of being with my own breath and then being also aware of everyone here and tuning into that sense of we and oneness and
I really appreciated, Greg, your prompt to loop with ourselves, our image on the screen. And what I noticed was that it felt like it's easier for me to connect with myself than with myself on the screen. Yeah.
It felt very foreign to notice myself and others at the same time because I'm so often like it's one or the other.
I noticed when we were looking at an individual, I realized that whoever, I didn't know who was looking at me, and whoever I was looking at probably didn't know I was looking at them. And so somehow I felt a little safer, but less connected.
that is another thing I noticed was that the person I was looking at, I really felt like she was looking at me, which she probably wasn't. Maybe she was, I don't know, but I really felt that she was. Like there was no doubt in my mind, but that was maybe a sense of the whole collective. I don't know.
Yeah, I wondered about that. Like, oh, I'm sending you the Vulcan mind meld juju. Like, you know, I'm looking at you now. And I was I was even pinning the video and then removing the pin. So that like such a demonstration in Zoom of the loop of awareness, conscious choice.
Anybody else?
I noticed I could hold myself and others. It's like I felt like a muscle that's on kind of weak. I could do it a little bit, and I want to be able to do it longer periods of time. It just felt like, oh, this is new, and it felt like when I'm starting to work a muscle, and it's like, okay, tomorrow I'll do more repetitions. But I like it. It's exciting.
I notice for me, it's a lot of curiosity that happens, that jumps out, that I want to explore, and I'm looking and studying that person. And then I kind of, loop back to me and I go, yeah, you. Yeah. Okay, now go back. So there's sort of like this level of rebalancing a little bit of the curiosity to explore the why you, kind of, okay, it's, you. And it's like, no, you don't, not in this moment. You need to, just be more peaceful with the looping. I'm not so impatient with the part, you get to loop out again. Okay, great. So yeah, which is, I guess, something to explore about why we're so pulled out, that tension to balance it a little bit more. I think for me, it's curiosity to manage.
As you're speaking, it's Alice, right?
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, because as you were speaking, there was a judgment that went off, across my mind while I was doing this, and I wasn't aware of it until I heard you speak. And so thank you. Is it like it highlighted it, and I went, oh, I had a judgment about how I was looping. It's so much easier for me to be in me than to loop my awareness out to the other. It's for me less safe. And and so as I was looping my awareness to other people and then to the group as a whole, I had a judgment that I should do this more. I wasn't very good at this. And I went, wow, no, I can actually hold everybody. But it was like there was still this kind of a negative thought about my ability to use that muscle, as you were talking about, Darlene, use it as a muscle, and yeah, I'll get better at this. But just for a moment, there was a judgment, and I usually try to reframe my judgments so I don't sit with a negative like that. And I hadn't, because it was just kind of one of those way back there, but I had heard it, So thank you for sharing, because it brought it up. It's like, oh yeah, I'm not as good as I'd like to be. I'm not as comfortable with all of those aspects as I'd like to be. And that's really cool, because it's like, oh, okay, now we can play with this more. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Rhonda.
Yeah.
That feels like a really good segue into the next experiment, which is playing a little bit with our personas. So we all have different parts of ourselves that show up that we sometimes struggle with or don't like so much. And what I'd like to invite us as a group to do now is to just toss out some personas that we have. And before we do that, and I know some of you may not be familiar with what a persona is, so let me just say something about that real quickly. So I'd like to think of personas as the roles that we take on, usually when we're growing up, that we use to get love and approval from other people, or if that doesn't work, we have personas that we use to avoid pain. So some of my personas that I've been noticing lately are, I can feel my control freak coming up every now and then. I can feel my please love me people pleaser coming up. I can feel my know-it-all that likes to show up and think I know everything about everything. And so go ahead and toss out some personas that you might have yourself that you notice showing up.
I have a second guesser that I don't trust myself to make a good decision.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do this away from the screen because it comes with a movement, which is direct and strong. And I don't want to overdo it. So it's, you should do this better. You should do this better. So it's the, you should do this better bitch. So, yeah. Which was a survival mechanism. I get it. But yeah, it's the, you should do this better.
Yeah. Well, let's hear a couple of others, and then we'll go ahead and move into the experiment.
I just noticed pleasant Zoom facade.
That's great.
That is a great one. That's a new one.
Anybody got one more?
Don't wanna Wanda.
Hmm.
Mine's time cop.
Time cop?
Time cop.
Oh. Mhm. All right, excellent. Thank you, personas, for showing up a little bit. And let's explore this as a group now. So you'd like to probably do this one standing up if you have room. If not, you're welcome to stay seated there. And I'd like you to go ahead and think of a persona that you'd like to play with to see what you can discover about it. And go ahead and just raise your hand when you have a persona. Okay, looks like everybody's got a persona. Great, so what I'd like to invite you to do is to go ahead and step into that persona. And what I mean by that is go ahead and take on the attitude of that persona. Take on the posture and let yourself start to take on the movement that that persona makes or doesn't make. And you can add a little sound to that if you like. And maybe there's something that persona likes to say. You can add that in.
Kevin, you should do this better. You should do this better.
Watch out for this, and yeah, make sure, yeah, and yeah, that's
What?
You should do this better.
You can have it.
No. Oh.
And let yourself notice how this persona shapes your awareness, how it shapes your breathing, how it shapes your movement. And then let yourself come back to the screen where you can see people and notice how people look to you through this persona. How do people look through this persona? How does the world look to you when you're in this persona? Just notice that right now. Yeah. And now let's play a little bit with starting to shift the persona. So go ahead and let yourself exaggerate it a little bit more once again. And now let yourself start to bring some breath and movement into the persona. So wherever you feel the tightest or the most numb with this persona, bring a little movement, a little breath into that area. And let that breathing and movement come into all your joints in your body, your wrists and your hips, your jaw. Just letting that movement and breathing go wherever it wants to go in your body. That's it. And then start to go into the persona again, but then just breathe and move a little instead of going all the way in. Just breathing and moving. And you can play with starting to go into it and then breathing and moving right through it. Just follow whatever wants to happen next for you. And now come back to the screen again. See if you've opened up a little space in this persona, or maybe you've sort of moved all the way through it. And notice how people look to you now. Notice how the world looks to you when you're not caught in this persona that you've been exploring. And then just come to completion with that. Let go of needing to do anything in particular. And who would like to share what you're experiencing or discovering about shifting out of a persona?
I discovered a new persona, which was, I'm going to give it to you. A sort of a strategy of if I give away everything I have, then no one will try to take something from me. And what I noticed was different in the way that I see everyone is it felt like everyone was leaning into me when I was in the persona, and I was leaning back and, yeah, I don't know what you want from me, kind of a thing. And in shifting through the persona, what I noticed my relationship to everyone is I was getting curious about, oh, I wonder what's going on with them. And so just the recognition that each person is having their own experience wasn't available to me in my persona.
Others.
I noticed that, I don't know if someone was about to speak, but mine is brief. I noticed that everybody looked darker and hazier from the persona. It was sort of like a film over everyone. And then once I breathed and moved, then all of a sudden everybody was bright and shining again.
My persona that I was playing with is impression manager, and I noticed very little movement in my body and a lot of movement and noise in my head when I was in the persona. And then people looked to me a little bit like sitting and watching and at me a bit. And then when I moved and introduced more breath, then it felt this healthy distance of, this is them and this is me. So it just felt a nice detachment from.
Anybody else?
I played with Good Girl. So there's a lot of like offering a tray, like, oh, what else could I offer you to make you feel completely comfortable and help you have a perfect life? And and then I'm aware, again, there's like this layer of vulnerability today more than usual of like, no wonder I want to like go back in the womb and suck my thumb and not deal. There's something about like not trusting that I'm able to be out with playmates. And so that must collapse back into don't want to Wanda.
Yeah, I also noticed some vulnerability, getting in touch with, when I started to shift out of my persona, this insatiable need for connection that I've been feeling so much lately, like just insatiable, like so wanting to be connected again in the ways that I know. And as I shifted out of that, I could feel that the tenderness and the vulnerability of that.
Yeah, I'm noticing that the persona that I picked, which is a long-standing one, only got accentuated more during the pandemic, and that this sort of stuckness, this kind of, stuckness with the persona just got more glued together. But the movement, and just in my own movement and taking up, the sort of the lesson I learned from the last will be more looping with myself, and then just feeling that I can actually move through this. I can just literally move through this into another persona, into something else that is more life-giving at this point. But it's the movement that gives me that. And then when I came closer to the screen, I noticed that, oh, that's interesting. Everybody looks like there's more aliveness and more expansion. Like it just felt like the boxes that we're all looking through here just felt more like people were filling their boxes more and visually to me. So I felt, oh, cool, this is happening collectively somehow. And that's actually fascinating to me.
Mm.
that happens. So, yes, for movement.
My persona was the worry wart. I've been having a lot of anxiety lately. So like I just let myself fully go into that place. And I like literally was like turtle shelling in on myself, like physically. And I was like, oh, that's what I do. So the movement that I made in the persona helped me sort of realize that that's something that I was doing. And then again, moving out and noticing the breath, it's like, oh, that's how you get out of the turtle shell. That's how you get out of the spiral.
Mm. Anybody else? Mm.
I think, Greg, when you just mentioned yours, and a new one popped up for me, which I think I'm kind of getting better at, and it's not the one I don't identify with it maybe as much anymore, and it's not the one I did for this exercise. But when you were talking about your connection, then I was all of a sudden this other one popped up to me, which was this. What popped in my head was "Don't need no one, Nelly," like. And I thought, wow, yeah, I've definitely been that. So it was just, I don't know, it was interesting that it popped up just as you, and it's not the one that I was experimenting with.
Mm. 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 So let's all say thank you to our personas, and then we'll move into the next experiment here. All right. So for this next experiment, are there two people that would be willing to be demos for it? We will spotlight you for the whole group. Okay, Brian, and did someone else have their hand go up? Yes. Okay, Beverly. All right. And who would like to go first? Beverly or Brian? Who's feeling it for being the first one? A little adventurous.
I'll go.
Okay, excellent. Thanks for jumping in, Brian. Okay, Brian, what I'd like to invite you to do is to think of some part of yourself that's hard to love. And all of you can do that too for yourselves. I'm going to do it for myself. Thinking of some part of you that's hard to love. Yeah, and so then Brian, when you have that part, just put up your finger, let us know. Okay. So take a moment, Brian, if you would, and give yourself a little bit of love for having a hard time. Getting a little background noise. If you have somebody talking, if you could go ahead and mute. Great, thank you. So if you can, Brian, find a little drop of love to put on that part of you that has a hard time loving this part, or maybe doesn't care for this part much at all. Yeah. And then what I'd like for you to consider, Brian, is handing that part of yourself the way you would hand a little baby to someone. Go ahead and hand that over to Beverly if you feel open to it. And Beverly, let yourself receive that part of Brian. And Beverly, let yourself add your love to that part of Brian without even knowing what it is. For no good reason, just letting yourself add your love to it. And then whenever you're ready, Beverly, take as much time as you want. You can go ahead and hand it back to Brian. And Brian, just noticing whatever you're noticing. Noticing if anything feels different in any way for you. And then as Brian is letting himself have that, Beverly, let yourself think of something that you find hard to love about yourself. And just raise your finger up when you have something. Okay. And see if you'd be willing, Beverly, to put a little drop of love on yourself for not loving that part, having a hard time loving it, maybe even hating it. And then whenever you are ready, Beverly, you can go ahead and hand that over to Brian like you'd hand a baby to someone. And Brian, let yourself receive that. And and let yourself add your love, Brian, to this part of Beverly without even knowing what it is, for no good reason. Just for the experience of adding love to it. And whenever you're ready, Brian, handing it back to Beverly. And noticing whatever you notice, Beverly, as you receive and feel that part of yourself again. All right. And then if you could just say something briefly, Brian and Beverly, something you'd like to share briefly about what you're noticing right now.
Beverly, I feel this exquisite softness towards you and the part of you that you shared with me. And I'm so grateful.
Thank you. I feel a great acceptance and love, like just, you know, like I can give this to this person who I don't know, and they don't know what it is, and they just accept it and love it. So yeah, I just really felt you infused this whole thing with love from this outside place. Yeah, thank you.
Well, I wish we could stay here until midnight my time and have a chance for everybody to do this like we just did. And then I want to honor our time agreement too. So let's see if we can do a little bit of a group love thing here. See if we can cook up an experiment for that. So think of something about yourself, if you haven't already, that's hard for you to love. And maybe you don't even know something. Go ahead and put that in your hands. You might not even need to know what it is. And then bring it up where we can all see it. Good. And then choose somebody on the screen that you'd like to hand this heart to, like a little baby. So choose someone, and then when I count to 3, you're going to go ahead and hand it to that person, and you're going to receive what they hand you. So 1, 2, 3. And then let yourself add some love to whatever that person just handed you without even knowing what it is, for no good reason. Adding your love. And you might want to do a little loop of awareness with whoever you're working with right now, sharing with. See them loving your part. Feel yourself loving their part. And then whenever you're ready, going ahead and handing that. Well, let's do it on 3. Let's do it on 3. 1, 2, 3. Handing that back. And receiving your part from the person. And bringing that to yourself. And noticing whatever you notice in your experience. Wonderful, wonderful. So we've got just a few minutes left here. So if there's anything anyone would like to share before we close up in a couple of minutes, this is the time to do it.
Wow, I really got from that it's all love.
Such a beautiful, tangible sharing from your heart to us, and really lovely. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you so much for the image of a baby. When I see the part that's difficult to love as a baby, it's just like, oh, you know, it's so much easier for me to love and to understand. You know, it's pain. It's a crying baby. That's, you know, that's it. So don't have to make it anything else. It's just a young one in pain. And then my heart just naturally wants to soften its experience and help it back on its feet and help it ground and feel its well-being again. So thank you so much for that image. And thank you everyone for the vulnerability. It really touched my heart to see the vulnerability and feel the vulnerability here. Openness.
Anybody else have anything to share before we close? A word or two?
Grateful is the word that I'm hearing in my heart.
Well, I'll say thank you all so much for just showing up and being here and hanging out. I just feel so tender and so blessed to be here with all of you right now. And I want to leave my email address too. If anybody has any feedback, any sharing that you didn't get to communicate tonight that you'd like to express, My email is newmanalive@hotmail.com. newmanalive@hotmail.com. All right, anything, Michelle, for you to add?
Beautiful. I'm putting the link one more time in the chat. If you haven't joined our Big Leap Home Network, it's totally free to join. So you are free to join us. And Greg, I think that everyone has expressed how well received this class has been. And I really appreciate you creating this playground of love. And yeah, really just such joy in my heart. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, so if anybody wants to unmute and say goodbye, go ahead and do that now. And I appreciate everyone for full on participating tonight. Really appreciate you for doing that, being with us and sharing your hearts with us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Mwah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Greg.
So beautiful.
So much, Greg. Yay. Bye, everyone.
Great job, Greg.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.